You see that it's 5b, and we are on the first wide line. Amar Mar, we had a long brisa. Amar Mar, we're going to quote the brisa and discuss two statements in the brisa that seem to be a contradiction. Says maybe a person could think that he could take his chametz and cover it over, or in a situation where he can't see it, or he can get chametz from a non-Jew as a deposit by him that he should be responsible for. It says not only la yira lecha, but la yimatzei, without the lecha, that it shouldn't be found. And this is found, even though it's covered over, but it's considered that it's existing. And it doesn't say that it has to be yours. Even if it's not yours, it's still still can't do that, because I don't want to give away the answer yet. 1 second. But the Reisha says of that brisa, it says la yira lecha. It says shalachoya ataraya ba'ataraya shalachem shal gavoya. It's where's the prohibition? Only your own chametz, but not chametz that belongs to someone else or to hektish. Now, someone else includes a non-Jew. So what did you just tell me a minute ago or after? That you can't receive a deposit from a non-Jew and it should be in your house. It says that you are allowed to if it's from someone else. Well, a Jew shouldn't have chametz. He shouldn't be having this chametz anyway. But if it's a non-Jew, that's a chayrim. And it says that it's permissible. The Gemara answers like kasha. It's not a question. It depends if he's responsible for it. If you take responsibility for this deposit, that you have in your house, then that's where the prohibition is. Like Rabba told to the people in the city of Mechuzah, Be'iru Chamira, destroy the chametz, the bnei chela, from the soldiers, mibataychu, from your houses. Since if it's stolen or if it's lost, it's in your possession or it's your responsibility, you're going to need to pay. Apparently, the soldiers would come through the town and they would bring raw materials and they would give it to the homeowners to prepare. So if there was flour or something that was in your house, it didn't belong to you, it belonged to them. But when they would show up and say, where is it? You would be responsible for it. They didn't want you to eat it, to take it. So because you'd be responsible for it, so therefore you have to destroy it as well. So that responsibility that you have for it is the obligation. It's like yours. And it's forbidden for you to have. The Gemara says, 1 second. 1 second, this is not so clear. This works out well according to the opinion. That's what I think. That's what it means. Responsibility it means that you would have to pay for it if it got lost. What about if you have to return it exactly as is? We'll see in a moment. We'll wait for that. It works out well according to the opinion that says davar agarim lamamen kamamen dami. There's a machlekes Reb Shimon in the Rabbanon if davar agarim lamamen is kamamen. Where did we have this before? We've had it before in other places. Davar agarim lamamen. I guess a regular example would be if someone burns his friend's document. Now, the document said that someone owed him money. So you have to pay him a piece of paper. So I'm sorry, I burnt your paper. Or you have to pay him for the value of the loss. And then there's other examples. Kachim that's chayev b'achriyusan, kachim that you're responsible for, a sacrifice that you're responsible for if it damages someone else. So officially, sharshal hektish is exempt if it damages. Shariyeyu am rachmano v'lo sharshal hektish, or whatever. But because you're responsible for this, so it's as if it's yours. In other words, you would need to replace it. So then this would give you that responsibility, according to Reb Shimon. Those are examples. But according to the Rabbanan, let's say that it's just because it causes you to pay. But right now, it's not yours. Yes, if it's lost, you would have to pay, but right now it's not. So according to that opinion, why do you have to destroy the chametz that's in the house or from the army? A special pasuk. The pasuk says layimatze, that should not be found. Layimatze teaches me that even if there's just a token connection between you and this item, even that you're still chayav. You're still chayav to destroy it. It still has the prohibition on it. Layimatze is this inclusion. Even according to the opinion that holds davar garim l'mammon is not gemammon, but over here we have the prohibition of chametz, which makes it that it is. Ikadamri, there are those that said this a little different. According to the opinion, the Rabbanan that hold that it's not considered value. That makes sense. That's why I have a pasuk. But the one that says that it's anyways considered yours because you have the responsibility to pay for it. So why do we need the pasuk? Umar says it's true. I need it anyway. Why? Kamash Malan is a difficult story. So this is what it says. I could have thought that since when it exists, you just return it directly, so it's not considered yours. So it's not considered in your possession. Kamash Malan, that it still is considered in your possession. That's why, according to the opinion that says davar agarim l'mammon is kimammon, so then why do I need the pasuk? The answer is you need the pasuk when it exists. When it's garim l'mammon, when it doesn't exist. When is it garim l'mammon? When it's not be'en, when it doesn't exist. After it's destroyed, it was garim l'mammon. Now you have an obligation, but over here it still exists. So you really not really have obligations here. Yeah, the difficulty is that
because it's still here. If you went to a glacier court of law,
you wouldn't pay money. They would take the item. Right. Right. So right. No, the svara is good.
It's not of it, so there was no mama.
Right. Right. The svara is good. The problem is that how does that play out? Does it really mean that shoshel reyeyo, shoshel hektish, I'm only chayev after the animal disappears? It's not here. What, how does that work? When it's here, it's hard to play it out. Yeah, the svara is good, but to play it out. Anyway, Mefarshim discuss how does it. Okay. Vaymine me Rava or Rabba. They asked Rabba a question. I don't have any proof either way who it is. Okay, what's the question? Behemas Arnuna. Chayavas b'b'chayra and chayavas b'b'chayra. Arnuna Rashi tells us the king would take a tenth of the flock. He would take a tenth of the flock, and he would also take a tenth of the produce, the grains, and that. So this animal has partial ownership by a non-Jew. Well, what's the partial ownership? The government is going to take some of it as a tax, so they own part of it. So is it chayevas b'b'chayra? Ain't chayevas b'b'chayra. The rule is that if there's partial ownership, is it considered that they're partners in it, and then it's going to be exempt from b'chayra? Because it says, what does it say? Ki likal b'char b'Yisrael. Likal b'char b'Yisrael. It's only the Yisrael, but if there's partial ownership of a non-Jew, then you're exempt. So the Gemara says, Kol heichad matzim misalach li bezuzi leikam mibaylan b'chayev. If you're able to tell the government that here's the value of a tenth and don't take my actual animals. And then those animals actually belong to you, and you just owed a monetary fee. So then those animals are actually yours. Where's our question? You can't tell the government, take this money. You have to actually hand over the items. So what's it then? He responded, that's considered a partial ownership. The Gemara asks, we have a brisa that says Zechayev. So the Gemara answers, that brisa is referring to a different arnuna, a different type of case, where you can tell the government, go take the money, the value, and leave us the animals. And that's why over there you're going to be chayev. Ikadamri, there are those that say this a little different. Amarava or Amarabba. An animal, the animals that are in this flock are exempt. Even though you can pay the government money and they'll leave you with the animals, but it's still considered that they have partial ownership. We'll see in a moment why. And Isas are nuna chayevas b'chala. But however, the dough that they take, that's chayev and chala. And even though you can't pay them off, you're still exempt. The mamish owned part of the chala. But the rule by chala was that the risay sechem, it needs to be yours. And here it's not 100% yours. It's not your dough. My timer, what's the reason? Behemoth lekola, isa les lekola. By the animal, everyone knows what's going on. And by the dough, they don't know exactly that you have the dough. So there's different ways of learning this. One way of learning this is that it's a din in Marasayan. And it has to do with what everyone else knows, Another way of learning this, other Rishonim learn that you can't get away with this from the government. Leslie Color means it's possible to hide from the government that you made a dough. So that's why it's chayiv b'chala. Whatever the case is, what this Ikadamri is doing is it's resolving the contradiction between the brisa that says chayeves and the statement of Rabbah that says pater, because the statement of Rabbah that says pater is going on the animal, and the brisa that says chayev is talking about the dough. Here the Mefarshim discuss. It's clear from Rashi that this is a din and this is just a marasayan. The Mefarshim discuss if you have to say a bracha when you take challah, according to this on if it's marasayan. So Dr. Stein, based on this discussion, you say a bracha on a din of marasayan. So they discuss if you say a bracha when you shech the ben pekua, because you're supposed to shech the ben pekua, the animal that's inside the mother when it's shechted. So you shecht it because of marasayan. But adin it's exempt from shchita because the shchita was already performed on the mother. But we shecht it midarabanan because of marasayan. So do you say a bracha on that as well? Anyway, okay. Tana Rabbanan. Nachri shenichnas lachateri shel Yisrael lebetzeke biyadei. A non-Jew enters into your courtyard. He's carrying his sandwich, his dough. Ein zakak levar. You don't have to. It doesn't mean destroy him. It means evict him. You don't have to evict him from your house because he's carrying chametz. If gida yatzlei, if he says, "Can you please watch this for me?" Then zakak levar. Then you have to evict it. If you hear it, you have to say, "No, I can't keep it in." Maybe it means you have to destroy it as well. Yichad lebayis. Let's say you tell him that, look, I'm giving you this house or this room or this shed. This shed is yours. So then, ein zakuk levar, you don't have to destroy it. You don't have to tell him to take it out. Shenemar leyimatze, because it says leyimatze. There's a problem with this leyimatze. Like, what does the leyimatze tell me? It says leyimatze bebatechem. Let's see. Mike Amar, what is this pasuk telling us? Amar of Papa Reshakai, saying it's talking about the Resha, that if he comes in, Vachi Kamar, this is what it means. If Kida Yetzlai, If he gives it to you as a deposit for you to be responsible for, then you have to destroy it. Shall not be found. And this gives you some sort of connection because of a responsibility that you have. Like we said before. That's exactly that brisa. Who's telling this to us? This is Rav Papa. Rav Papa says that the lo yimatzei that's in this Tanur Rabbanan, it's in this brisa, is telling me the same din that I had before, that lo yikabel b'ktainis min anachri, can't receive anything to be responsible for from a non-Jew. Rav Ashi Amar Leila Masefika. Rav Ashi says no. That pasuk shenemar lo yimatzei was talking about the yichad lo bayis, the end of it, where it says it's permissible. If you give him a house, or give him a shed, you say, this is your shed, leave it whatever you want. It's not mine. This is your place. You can keep this place. It's not really keep it. It's like rent it. It's yours. Shenemar, as it says, lo yimatzi bebatechem, shall not be found in your house. The end of the pasuk. We stop short. But really, the pasuk concludes, lo yimatzi bebatechem, shall not be in your house. And it's not your house. The nachri kikamayel, the base of the nafshei kamayel, because when the non-Jew comes in, he's going into his own house and everything is good. There's two ways of learning what the brisa meant. Gemara says, L'meimer the schiras kanya. Does that mean that if you rent it, you lose all of your rights to it, and it's not really yours anymore? It's not considered batechem. It's going to create a little bit of an issue. V'hatanya, we have a Mishnah. V'hatanan, we have a Mishnah. Af makam shamar lahasker. Became a big discussion in certain communities. Even places, very nice. Even places where they said that you're allowed to rent a house to a non-Jew. Leila based dira amru mipnei shemachnisin l'seichai avodah zarah. It's not for a dwelling house. You can't rent a house that he's going to live in. You can rent him other things, storage houses or whatever, but not a house. Because what's the problem? Because he's going to bring an avodah zarah into the house, and the house is really yours, and you're not supposed to have an avodah zarah coming into your house. So what we're talking about here is that in Eretz Yisrael, you weren't supposed to rent houses to a non-Jew. In Syria, you were allowed to, and in Chutz La'aretz, definitely you're allowed to. Now, even those places where they said you're allowed to, which means outside of the land of Israel, you're allowed to rent a house to a non-Jew, but you're not allowed to rent him a house to live in because he's going to bring an avodah zarah into it. If you say that when you rent it to him, it's not yours anyway, as we're just saying, that the guy could bring in his chametz into the house, it's not patechem. He's bringing it into his own house. It's a problem. You're telling me that you give him the house, he can bring his chametz in it because it's not patechem, it's not yours. But then that doesn't fit well with that. You can't rent him a house to live in because he's going to bring avodah zarah in, and that's going to be your house. Gemara says, Shani hacha the afkir rachmana b'lashon layimatzei misha matzei biyadcha yatzeh shein matzei biyadcha. We're taking it slightly different here. Usually, layimatzei was more inclusive. It wasn't an exclusion. Layimatzei should not be found. That means even if it's covered over, even if it's just responsibility. Now we're saying yimatzei means that you have to have access to it. So normally, schiras is kanya. No, schiras is like kanya. You still have somewhat of a connection to the house, even though you've rented it to the person. Yeah, the landlord has some connection to what's going on in his house. You shouldn't rent it to a non-Jew if the non-Jew is going to turn it into going to bring his avodah zarah there. So, however, by chametz, there's an exclusion of lo yimatzei, which means that it has to be, the only prohibition would be if you have access to it. And over here, because you gave it to him, because you rented it to him, it's not matzeh biyadcha. Okay. Yeah. Oh, okay, good. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. Rav Yehuda is a student of Rav. He afterwards a student of Shmuel. This is a statement here. Sorry? Rav Yehuda Bar Yecheskel is the second generation Amar. He's the Shinina, right? Shmuel calls him Shin. Rav Yehuda says the name of Rav. Hamaitzi chametz bebeisai b'yamta. This happens sometimes. Someone finds chametz in his house on Yom Tov. Usually it's not real chametz. Usually it's some soap that they forgot to look at the ingredients. It's not real. But it's possible. Someone finds a bagel under the couch or something. They forgot to lift up that cushion or something. So what do? The problem is it's Yom Tov and it's muktzah. And did we say before you're not allowed to burn chametz on? What does it say? Yeah. You can't. It has no purpose. You can't move it. You can't use it. You can't do anything with it. So, did we say before? Did we discuss this before about chametz on Yom Tov? Yeah, we learned from Rabbi Akiva that you can't burn your chametz on Yom Tov. That was a statement we had before. You can't burn it either. So what do you do with it? So the Gemara says, you just cover it over. Now, covering it over, what does that help you? At least you're not going to eat it. Yeah. So, Amar Rava, Imshal Hektish U'ein Tzarach. You hear this? If it's Hektish, then it's not a problem. Now, what does Hektish do? We learned before that Shel Gavoya Shel Hektish was acceptable, but it depends if you're responsible for it. If you still have to give it over, if you're responsible for it, so it's still awesome. But either way, we're not covering it because of the Yisr. We're covering it so you don't eat it. So if it's Hektish, you don't have to cover it. Why? So it says, my timer, Mivdal B'dilimine. You see, bread you have in your house the whole year. And the whole year you're eating bread. That's the big part of the big chumrah of chametz, is that you may end up eating it because you eat bread the whole year. It's so in your nature that you take a slice of bread, that the 1 week that you don't take the slice of bread, you're going to forget. You'll take it by mistake. Here it's the bagel. Here, now we're talking about hektish. Hektish you never touch, and you're always careful with it. So, but the sense that you have something hektish here is going to keep you removed from it, and you're not going to eat it. Rav Yehuda also says in the name of Rav, you have to say that we're talking about a case where he wasn't Makabel Achrayas. Chametz of a non-Jew that he didn't take responsibility for. So you just put up a mechitza. Rashi says we're talking about on the 14th. Why isn't it good enough to put a keli on it? Because he may end up removing the keli. The other one was not, the other case, why didn't we say you're going to remove the keli on Yom Tov? You put a keli on top of it, you cover it over. So that was just for 1 day, because on Chol Hamoed you burn it. Over here, you're not burning it on Chol Hamoed. It's the guy's chametz. He left it here. You don't have responsibility for it, so that's why you're allowed to leave it there, but it needs a mechitza for 7 days. So for 7 days, it needs a mechitza. For 1 day, it just needs a keli, because we assume that you're going to move the keli. And if it's hektish, then it's not a problem. My time of mivdal b'dili and shimini, even if it's for 7 days, no one's going to touch it. Hektish, everyone is careful of. Rav Yehuda also says the name of Rav. Someone that's going on a trip. Mefarish is he's going on a sea voyage. Yetzi b'shayara is going on a caravan, right, by land. So depends when he leaves. Sorry. Mefarish says he goes by sea.
Okay, good.
Yeah, cruise. A long cruise. If it's before 30 days, that means before Purim. So then, Ein Zakek Levar. He's not responsible. So he's not responsible to destroy the chametz, to search for the chametz. His house, yeah. Yeah. What exactly is going on here? Is he mevatel the chametz? That would help. If he's mevatel it, then that would explain everything. But not necessarily is he being mevatel. That's he actually owns it. Probably, I think that's what I understood from Rashi. I understood from the Rashi a little bit further that he's not being mevatel. Nevertheless, in zakek levar, because he left before 30 days. If it's after Purim, within 30 days of the Chiyuv B'dika, then zakek levar, he has to destroy the chametz. Amar Abaya adds to this. This that we said within 30 days, you have to destroy it. That's when your tickets are, that's when you're leaving. That's only if you're coming back. Rashi says you're coming back during Pesach. I guess that means that if you're coming back before Pesach, then you could rely on you'll do it before Pesach. But if you're coming back during Pesach, then that's when you need to destroy it. But if you're not coming back at all, then you don't need to destroy it, even though you're leaving within 30 days. Amalei Rabba, if you're coming back in middle of Pesach, it's not just from Purim you have to destroy the chametz. If you're taking a trip from Rosh Hashanah till Pesach, you're going to come back Cholamayid Pesach, then you have to destroy the chametz before you leave. If you know that, if that's your plan. Rabba says, he says it totally different. This that we said that if you leave before 30 days, you don't need to destroy it. The heter. On the heter, he says, that heter is only if you're not planning on returning. That's a limitation in the heter. When do I say you don't need to destroy it? That's if you're not coming back. But if you are coming back in the middle of Pesach, then even if you left before 30 days, you have to destroy. It's chametz that you're leaving. We'll see in a moment more details on this. We'll see in a moment. Yeah, it would be so much easier to explain this Gemara with what's the whole issue of destroying the chametz is so that I don't eat it, right? I don't come to eat it while I'm not there to eat it. So I am not allowed to own it. Yeah, but that I did bittul. Easy explanation. The problem is that the Rishonim aren't necessarily learning like that, right? Even without the bittul, somehow this is fine. So, what's the Rabba Latame? Rabba follows his reasoning. This is going to give us a little bit of insight. If someone turns his house into a storage house, that means he starts piling things up on the floor, and it's piling. Underneath the floor was chametz. Underneath, or on the bottom of the pile, he didn't clean it out. So he makes his house into a storage house, and he doesn't destroy the chametz from underneath that storage room. So if he did it all before 30 days, he doesn't need to clean it out. He can just keep piling it up. And what's the reason? Because it's considered as if nafla of mapilas. If a house collapses and there's chametz underneath it, it's considered destroyed. This is destroyed. So I guess that's the pshat over here also with the trip. It's considered destroyed. It's like as if a house fell on it. That would have to be the logic. It's not really destroyed. Matzah could last a few years. It's stale, but you toast it again. It's fine. It was machine matzah. Chametz stick matzah. Egg matzah is a problem, by the way. Egg matzah is a big problem. Right.
Who lied around? And you went out of town for a month. They wasn't there.
Right. Right. That's interesting. But if you're turning this store into a storage house within 30 days, and zakuk levar, then you do have to clean out the floor before you start piling the stuff up of storage. And even before 30 days, where you said that it's not a problem to turn this into a storage house without cleaning out the floor, that's only if you're not planning on removing the items from the storage house during Pesach. You have to clean it out because during Pesach you're gonna open it up. It's gonna be there.
All right, that way they don't even have to worry about buying everybody else. And they eventually split the house, right? And he left his helmet and the ground, which is not only an exception. All right, he still has to worry about that money because he can't even get that money.
It's a very interesting question. Dr. Stein is asking a question. I actually heard this question practically. It was Erev Pesach. It was in my father-in-law's show. There's a guy that has a moving company. In the moving company, somehow he had, I don't know if it was in his trucks or in his storage things or whatever. But what does he do with the things that he's responsible for? Because he's a moving company. And he's responsible for those items, and he doesn't know what's in there. The whiskey, or I don't know, things that we consider chametz. And he can't sell? Can he sell someone else's chametz? Like, can he sell a guy's chametz? What does he sell? What is he selling? Right. So what does he do? He's responsible for chametz. He's in like a real fix. I remember my father-in-law was. Like, I don't know what to do. We called the Rav. He called the Rav in New York. Rav says it's Erev Pesach. I can't think. Can't think. It's a good shaila. I don't know. I think the Rav said to sell it, and I don't remember how what his explanation was. That somehow you're able to sell whatever rights or some. I don't know exactly though. Okay, so it's a good, definitely a good shaila. Okay, Yeshakach. What's going on with these 30 days? What are we talking about? 30 days. Purim. What does that have to do with anything? 30 days. Remember, I learned this when I was here in Yeshiva with Rabbi Shapiro. Rabbi Shapiro gave us a shiur every day. It was always very interesting. He would throw in so he told us then in Minchas Chinuch. Minchas Chinuch has a discussion. I have to keep Shabbos on Shabbos. But our chiyuvei Shabbos, the obligations of Shabbos on me all week long, that all week I have the mitzvah of keeping Shabbos on Shabbos, or is the mitzvah of Shabbos only when Shabbos comes? It has to do with this also. Here what we're saying is, he had some nafkaminas, I don't know. But here what we're saying is, what we're going to, for some reason, the chiyuvim of Pesach, that start to take effect 30 days before Pesach. We're going to see also the chiyuvim abayla regel have to take effect where you are at a certain time before the Yom Tov. Are you then obligated? So if it's before the time of the chiyuvim abayla regel, you're able to remove yourself from the obligation. Yeah.
Regarding the question, because isn't there a regular
yeah.
Every single day Shabbos. So, and the other one says start counting. So the first one
right.
appears to stay the
right. Right. That's interesting. That could be. But the other machlekes was if you keep the first day, or if you count 6 and then keep. That if you compare it to the way Hashem kept Shabbos, or the way we kept Shabbos. For us, it was the first day because we were created on Friday, and for Hashem it was the 7th day. That was the machlekes over there. And then they said, but everyone says that you should really just do the malachas that you need and not the extra. Okay, and you can't. Oh, but I think it said that you're able to do that one thing of traveling to get it. I think it said that. I don't remember. Tanya, as it was taught in the Brisa. You start asking and darshaning, teaching the laws of Pesach 30 days before. It's famous kasha over here that there's a takana that you're supposed to learn the laws of the Yom Tov on the Yom Tov. And here it says 30 days before. All the Farshim discuss. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says that this is 2 weeks, not 30 days. My time at the Tanakama, what's the reason for the Tanakama? We're on top of Abba Medbeis. Shari Moshe Med Pesach Rishon and Mazer al Pesach Sheni. We're going to Parshas Balaischa now. Shenemar, as it says, Vayaseh b'nei Yisrael es Pesach b'mayadai. The Jewish people should keep the Pesach in its time. And right there it says that there were those that couldn't keep the Pesach because they were tamei, right? So Moshe told them about Pesach Sheni. When did he teach them about Pesach Sheni? 30 days before, which was on Pesach. So you learn about the holiday. You see, this is a raya that you have to learn about Pesach Sheni 30 days before. Unbelievable. I always thought it was just Pesach. Sukkot maybe. Shavuos not. Shavuos is a cheesecake. Okay. You have to prepare for it. Okay. Reb Shimon ben Gamliel says to you, but that's not a raya. We're talking about Pesach. So we start discussing the Pesach Sheni because we're dealing with Pesach. But that's not a raya that every holiday you have to learn 30 days before. We happen to be involved in that, so that's why that occurred. Well, my time there, Reb Shimon ben Gamliel. So why does he say 2 weeks? Because Moshe was standing. This is when we're in Egypt. He's standing on Rosh Chodesh, and he's telling us about the laws of Pesach, which are going to be on the 14th. This is for you as the first month. They should take on the 10th of the month. They should take the sheep, which they're going to shecht on the 14th. You see, you have to start learning about the halachas 2 weeks before. The Gemara asks, where do you know that it's Rosh Chodesh? It says Hachidesh is Elachem Rosh Chodashim. This month is the first month. It doesn't say that this is Rosh Chodesh. It says Nisan is the first of the month. It doesn't say that today is Rosh Chodesh. How do you know that it was Rosh Chodesh? Maybe it was the 4th, the 5th. Elama Rabba Bar Simim Shmei the Rabina Ella. Ella is the rather. We have a new pshat. It says Rabba Bar Simim name Rabina Mehacha. Vayidaber Shem Moshe ben Marsida Mishana Shenis B'Chodesh Harishon. Over there it says, the beginning of that section in Balaischa, it says Hashem spoke to Moshe in Midbar Sinai in the second month. B'Shana Shenis, I'm sorry, in the second year. B'Chodesh Harishon in the first month. Uksiv, and it also says Vayaseh b'nei Yisrael es Pesach b'mayadai, that the Jewish people should do the Pesach in its time. Hachanami. Oh, so it says over there, B'Chodesh Harishon, on the first month. And then it says Vayaseh b'nei Yisrael es Pesach b'mayadai, that you should do the Korban Pesach. He wants to tell us that it was talking about Rosh Chodesh. Maybe also it doesn't tell you that it was Rosh Chodesh. You don't have any source from there. We learn because it says the word midbar. It says at the beginning of Bamidbar, it says Bamidbar Sinai. And over there it says, it's Hacha, I'm sorry, Hacha means by us in Balaischa. Tziv Hasim, and over there it says, Vayedaber Shem al Moshe Bamidbar Sinai by Olmaid Be'echad Lachodesh Hasheni. It was the first of the month. The first of the second month. Over there was the first of Iyar. but it says Bamidbar, and over there it tells me that it's the first of the month. Malahalam Rosh Chodesh, Afkan Rosh Chodesh. So over here, when it says Midbar, it also means that it's Rosh Chodesh. The Gemara says, "V'nichtav Bereisha the Chodesh Rishon, v'ad nichtav the Chodesh Sheni." This is a general question. It's not asking a question on us. This question is, the Torah is out of order. When I start reading Parshas Bamidbar, it says that it's Rosh Chodesh Iyar, and when I get to Balaisva, it says it's Rosh Chodesh Nisan. Amar Rav Menashe bar Tachlif from Shmei Rav Zaysemer saying Muktam Mucha B'Torah. That the teretz that everyone was thinking, Ein Muktam Mucha B'Torah. This is the source for it. This is the basis for it. Yeah. Pesachim Daf. Amar Rav Papa says La Yaman Ala B'Trei Inyane. When do I say Ein Muktam Mucha B'Torah, that the Torah is not in chronological order? When do I say that? That's only if it's two parshias. B'Trei Inyane means two portions. Doesn't mean two parshias. Bamidbar, Balaisva means if there's a space in the Torah, a pei, a samach, the Torah has those spaces. Aval b'chad inyana, but if it's in one paragraph, well, we should call them paragraphs because that's what they look like. In one paragraph, my demukta mukta, my demucha, whatever. You have to read that in order. You can't read a paragraph out of order. You can't say that a paragraph was part of it is before, part is after. That you can't. Whatever's earlier is earlier. That's in chronological order. If you don't say this, then you're in trouble, because we have a difference in the order of a generality and a specific. We say that if the general was first and the specific came later, we say ein b'chlal al masha b'frat. The whole general. So that's what we're saying. Definitely, it applies when it's in one paragraph. So if you say in Muktam Mucha B'Torah, so then it throws it off. Dilma. Dilay Tema Achi Klal Prat Klal. I'm sorry, Klal Prat Ein B'Chol Masha B'Frat. Dilma Prat Chlalhu. Maybe it's exactly the opposite. Ein Muktam Mucha B'Torah. There's no order to it. V'su Prat Klal. When it goes the other way, when I start with the Prat and then I have a Klal, and the rule is Nasa Klal Ma'aseh Ala Prat, that it's coming to include more items than what the detail was when the specific. Dilma Klal Prat, maybe it's the opposite, and it's coming to exclude. It's coming if it's not in order. The Gemara says Yihachi Apilu B'Trein Yaninami. What about the Klal Prat that's in two different paragraphs? The Gemara says, well, Hanicha. According to the opinion that says that there is no such thing, then great, it doesn't exist. I'm surprised by this Rashi. Hanicha, Rashi says I know what Hanicha means. Rashi's giving me a translation. I probably had Hanicha a few hundred times already. And if you would have told it to me in brachas, Hanicha, it is good. It's not a question. I'm wondering, like, something's going on here that Rashi would say that. You see what I'm asking? Mm-hmm. Okay. El Mandar done in Maya Kalame.
Not really a question here because you look at the next Rashi. How many times the mother wants to but that's where he really gets the question. I think you have to connect
that. Maybe the next Rashi is not supposed to be a heading. Like maybe that's what he means. I don't know. Okay. Okay. I have two words later. I have the bold that makes it look like it's a new heading. Okay, El Mandam are done in Maya Kalmemra, but according to the opinion that says that you do learn, even if it's two paragraphs, the Gemara says, Afilu Manda Amar Danan Hani Mili B'Chadin Yana Aval B'Trein Yani and Danan. No one says in two paragraphs. The only question is in one paragraph, if it's far apart one from the other. Let's keep going. Okay. Okay, that's our answer. Can I do the next tomorrow? Yeah. Is it okay?
Yeah.
Can I go? Okay. Amar Rav Yehuda Amar Rav. Another statement. Rabbi Yehuda says the name of Rav. Habaydik tzarich sheyivatel. Even though you just destroyed all the chametz, well, you searched for all the chametz and you removed it and you're taking it out. You're going to burn it tomorrow. You still have to say the kol chamira. You have to be mevatel. My time, why? It's not. You did a good job. You cleaned out the whole house. Well, maybe there were some crumbs. Crumbs are not considered anything. Well, maybe because you closed the door, you're guarding them. Important. Important. Yeah, but we're saying that it's bottle automatically. Well, maybe it's not bottle automatically because you closed the door. Because you close the door and you're protecting them. Well, I don't care about protecting my crumbs. I'm protecting everything else. I happen to have crumbs there. So it says, Vahatanya, but we have a brisa that says like this. Seifei te'enim. If there are figs that will never ripen, it's the end of the season, and they just ripened a little bit. They're not fully ripe. They're never going to get more ripe. However, the grapes are still there, and there it's the beginning of the grape season, and you're protecting your field from the grapes, or the opposite. It's the end of the grape season. And you're protecting your field because of the cucumbers and the gourds. If the balabais wants those items that will never ripen, then no one can take them, and they're also chayiv in Maisa. The question is, if it's considered hefker. If it's hefker, it's exempt from Maisa. That means if you're actually going to go and eat it, you're allowed to eat it without tithe, without removing anything from it, because it's hefker. Hefker doesn't. But if he doesn't care about those items, he only cares about the grapes that are still in season. He only cares about the cucumbers that are still in season. So, what do we see? That just because you close the door on something doesn't mean that you're protecting it. You're only protecting the other things that you want, but not that item. So therefore, what are you telling me? That there's crumbs in the house and you're closing the door, therefore you have to be mavatal. You have to nullify it. Why should I have to nullify it? I don't care for it. If it's just crumbs. I don't have to say anything. It's possible that you may find something that's actually substantial. In the moment that you look at it, you're going to have a thought, this is the gliskiyafa. The moment that you look at it, you're going to say, that's good. And then you say, oh, it's chametz. And then you're going to destroy it, of course. But at that first second that you look at it, you're going to say, it's good. That moment you wanted to keep it. In that moment is a prohibition, it's a violation of chametz. And so therefore you have to be mevatel it before it. So why don't you just be mevatel it when you find it? If you maybe you're going to find it after it's on Pesach, and you can't be mevatel it then. Why not? Why not? Rabbi Lazar says there's two things that don't belong to you, but the Torah considers it like it's yours. What is that? If you dig a pit in a public area, it's not your pit, but it's not your street, but it's considered yours if anyone gets hurt. And chametz from 6 hours and above, it's not yours because you can't have any benefit from it, but the Torah throws it on you to make you as a prohibition. So why don't you just be mevatel it right before the zmani iser? Why do you have to do it by the bedika? It says kivan the lav zmani surah v'lay zman bir dilma pash v'lay mevatel. At 9-10 o'clock in the morning, it's how should I remember to do it? There's nothing. There's no simon there that's going to tell me to do it. So do it while you're burning the chametz, which we actually do, but we do it also before. It says kivan the surah the rabbanan ilave ki surah kideraisa dami v'lav b'shusikaim v'lay matzah mevatel. Since there is an issa derabanan on it, then at that time, because that's the time of the burning, you're not allowed to eat it. So that's also considered a time that you can't be mevatel, because it's not considered yours. We'll stop over here.